All right, hey everyone, it's Nick and Ron with another edition of Ask Ron, actually a special Christmas edition of Ask Ron. Merry Christmas, Ron.
You too, sir. It
Thank
is
you.
Christmas already.
All right, let's see. We've got a few questions this week. First question here is from Bert in Georgia. Bert says, I'm a longtime Gold Club member who has never pulled the trigger on a deal. I want to know the best strategy to get money out of our current home so I can gradually transition from my ad agency income to full-time real estate investing. We bought our 2,200 square foot ranch home here in Augusta in '86. The estimated market value as is has been set at 180 with an ARV of 205, and it needs about 15K in repairs and updates. Our mortgage balance is 76. I have a credit rating of over 700 and I'm 72 years old. What's your best advice to generate 20,000 in cash to make our home more comfortable, attractive?
Yeah. All right. Well, I don't have to tell you that you can refinance it. I mean, obviously, it only needs $20,000 worth of work. You're not borrowing much more than you already owe. It's not like you're putting yourself at much risk to do that. And that is the cheapest money you're going to get for sure. However, you say you want to get out of your job and you want to do real estate full time. I've got to tell you that if you can't do it part-time, you won't do it full-time either. It's not about time. It's about implementing the simple steps and getting going, which you don't need much time to do. I would suggest to you that you get back. I don't know if you've been to the Quick Start School or not. You probably have, but if you haven't, you need to get back. It's only $500 for a return visit for you. Of course, we're not doing one now till February. But you need to get back to the basics so you have it clear in your mind exactly what you need to do first, second, third, and fourth so that you can get a deal working. You probably ought to consider getting a mentor to work with you day by day for 6 months. Then that helps you submit the deals instead of just blowing them. And they kind of force you to get deals because you've got to send leads into them every week. And I think, don't we have a class on the Gold Club about getting people to call you? I don't remember. I know we got a 3-day course on it. But
yeah, I mean, we definitely have training on how to advertise for sellers for sure. Okay.
Well, you need to focus on getting sellers to call you. They're much more motivated than the ones we have to chase that are listing their house online. And there's a huge difference between those kind of sellers and the kind of sellers we have to chase, I'll tell you. So spend a little time doing that, maybe a little money doing that. Get sellers calling you. And frankly, I don't care if they call you direct in the beginning. You need just to get a deal, and you probably make the money to fix your house out of your first deal if you want to. But I mean, you got a lot of equity in it. Yeah, it's up to you guys whether you want to refinance it or not. By the way, your interest rates right now are probably lower than they are on that loan you have on it. So that's something you ought to consider. Look, you're already personally guaranteeing it. I don't see how you're going to harm yourself by borrowing a little bit more money than you already owe, especially if you're going to put it into the house. That would be something I'd probably do in addition to getting going on real estate. So come on back to Papa. Let's get started. You've got a good time to do it. It's the beginning of a new year. And tell you what, many of our folks had a very, very, very good year this year because they didn't let COVID stop them. So just remember, people always need to sell houses.
All right. Next question is from Fernando in Connecticut.
Okay.
Says, my VAs are calling FSBOs for rent by owners and expired listings. Mm-hmm. I would like them to call free foreclosures. Any recommendations on obtaining a list with numbers of free foreclosures?
Our VAs aren't calling those folks for you. So you must be using your own VAs because we don't call anybody that it doesn't blatantly have a house for sale. And that means that they are either advertising or they've called us. So I'm not sure what your question is, but call list that I can tell you. So what was his question? I forgot his question now.
All right. Well, so he says his VAs are calling FSBO, so and for rent by owners as well as expired.
That we can do. Not expired. We don't do that. We send them in. We send them a letter and try to get them to call us. Then we'll call them back. Now I don't know if that's what he's doing. Okay, but we don't call anybody cold, that's for sure. So know something else to do. I think I already just answered that, frankly.
Yeah, same thing with pre-foreclosures, like you said.
I would focus on getting people to call you. Foreclosures are great. Pre-foreclosures are great. Out-of-town owners are great. But that does involve mailing to them. Run some ads, put some signs on your car. In fact, we're getting signs right now for the back of some cars of my folks. So what are you paying, Nick? $95 for the signs that go in the back of the car, I think. They say full price for your house and phone number. Those things work. I mean, they're not going to run your business for you, but God, they're almost free. And there's that sign out there all the time. What a great time to have that sign in the back of your car while you're out at the mall shopping and spending all that money for Christmas. Bound to get some leads out of that thing. So go down the list and figure out what you can do to get people to call you that you don't have to risk a lot of money on. Mailing is okay, but you can lose a lot of money trying to figure out the right combination of who to mail to and what to mail and so forth. There's so many other easier ways. And I'll also look for sale by owner signs as well. They're not calling you, but they're a little more, they're better leads than the people that are advertising online, and that's all they do.
All right. His next question is,
make a point of that.
Go ahead.
Guys, a handful of quality leads is better than a ton of not so quality leads. A handful of people calling you beats the crap out of a big old pile of folks that we have to chase.
All right.
Question?
Yeah, his next question is, are there any days of the week that are best to send? For instance, are people more willing to read a message on the weekend?
You know what? That is something that I haven't tested in 20 years. I don't know the answer. I don't think it matters. If they're going to read it, they're going to read it. But the general consensus is mail it on Monday, so it gets there on Tuesday, or Tuesday, so it gets there on Wednesday when the mail is light. I'm not sure it even matters. The only way you're going to find out is to test it.
Yeah, and I don't know if he's only talking about letters or if he's talking about emails and everything, but I mean, I would recommend that yeah, some people are more likely to read on the weekends. Other people are more likely to read on Wednesdays. So it's good to just make sure that they get a message on multiple days, sometimes on Saturday, sometimes on Wednesday.
Gosh, if he's sending them emails, just send it every day.
Right.
Until they respond.
Spread it out, and then you can even do different times of the day.
Yeah, that's true.
I like to
mailing letters that cost money.
Yeah, there's one thing I certainly don't like to be, and I don't like to be in the batch of emails that they go through in the morning or after lunch, because that's when most people go through their emails and they're just on a deleting spree. They delete, and then save the ones they want to look at.
So what time would you send it?
I would do it just after morning, so like 9:30 or 10 o'clock.
Okay. Or
a little bit later in the afternoon, like 2
3
o'clock.
o'clock. Okay. Yeah. Makes sense. And maybe even in the evening.
Sure. It depends on where it's going. Like if it's work email, a lot of people don't check that email till the next morning. But I would have all of them. Have some in the evenings and some in the mornings.
Of course, you're assuming we even have their email address, and we wouldn't have until they contact us.
Right.
So what you just said is more for follow up than the front end first contact.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're never emailing anybody as a front end because you're not renting lists and mailing to them, emailing to them. You can rent lists and mail to them, but you can't rent to list and email to it.
Correct. And frankly, we just don't try to contact sellers that haven't made it known they have a house for sale. We just don't like the cold calling. And there's a lot of successful people out there doing the cold calling, but they got a machine, and it sure is a hard way to get deals. It works, but it's not, you're not going to just sit down at your kitchen table and start calling people and make that work. They have people calling and paying them as a full-time job, and obviously they have to make a lot of calls to get any, but it's still a numbers game. It's like any other business. They're all numbers games, but there are easier ways to do deals than cold calling people.
All right, next couple questions from Hector in Massachusetts. When optioning a house that you put on the market for $500 and you have a buyer offering $600K, and you go back to the seller and tell them the good news is I have a buyer, the bad news is you have to lower your price to $450. The seller then asks, how much did the buyer offer? What's the response to this question?
Well, I don't understand the question. I put it out for $500 and I'm getting offered $600. Is that what I heard?
That's what it sounded like to me.
Well, I don't know why I'd want to go back to the seller and knock him down anymore. I think he's got something backwards there. Maybe he meant they're offering $400. I don't know. If I'm getting $100 grand more than I'm asking for, I have no reason to make any conversation with the seller whatsoever. I'm just going to get the thing closed and get the seller what they want. But I don't think the question is right. It needs to be rephrased.
All right. His next question When perusing canceled, expired, and withdrawn listings, how far back should someone go?
That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that question either. I'd say I want to get them as soon as I know that they're expired before they make a decision to relist them again, which is what most people would do. But if I can get a list of people, I don't care. I'd mail to all of them. Really, if I'm going to mail to expireds, at least as far as 90 days out. In fact, I would think, just a guess, that the longer they've been expired, probably the more motivated they are to sell. But then you'd have to ask, well, how come they haven't relisted it? So I don't know. There's a 4-letter word that I hate. It's called test, and it sucks because it means you got to actually do some work. You got to test. That's the only way you're going to find out, guys. You got to test, and you got to make sure that it's a fair test. You got to make sure that you're doing apples to apples, not apples to oranges, which means if I'm going to mail to people that are 90 days old and I'm going to mail to another list that are 30 days old, I should mail them at the same time with the exact same mail piece and make sure I can tell the difference when they respond. That'll give me a good idea of whether the 90 days were better than the 30 days. That's not an ironclad test, but it's better than nothing, at least. But the thing is, if I'm getting about the same response, my test works. I know it doesn't matter, mail all of them. But what if I get a lot more leads on the 90s than I do on the 30s? Well, then I'm going to work on the 90s and probably save them. I don't need very many leads to justify the cost of a mailer, but the hard part about marketing is you're always testing, and it sucks. And I'll agree. We do the same thing at Global, don't we, Nick?
Yeah, we do.
That. Yeah. Nobody wants to test. We'd rather just mail because we know for sure it's going to work, right?
Right.
And Nick, when we mail and we know for sure it's going to work, what happens?
Well, it usually doesn't work, right?
That's correct. Because man plans and God laughs. Okay. Test. We have no idea sometimes why people respond, and there's so many variables. You just got to test it.
Even if it does work, you don't stop testing because it could work better.
That is correct. In other words, don't ever kill your control while you're trying to beat it. If it's working, keep it working while you're testing something else.
Yeah, we've had some marketing pieces that we've used for 10 years, and we try to beat them, but until we beat them, we can't get rid of that control.
That's right. That's right.
We get tired of it, but people seeing it for the first time, they don't get tired of it.
Oh yeah. Do you think I get tired of telling my story? Oh, but I got to keep telling it because most people are here and they're here for the first time. Same with marketing. It's really easy to get bored, but you don't kill it only if it doesn't work. And that's marketing 101. A lot of people don't do that. They get tired of mailing the same thing, so they go change it. And that's not the right way to do it. Test.
All right. Next question is from Micius in Florida. What is the road to my first deal? For example, do I need to have good credit, or will I have to personally guarantee debt?
What's her first name?
Micius.
Spell it.
Micius.
Okay. Well, I can tell by your question you haven't been on Planet Ron very long, because you mentioned something about personally guaranteeing debt and good credit, neither one of which applies on Planet Ron. Oh, no way do I want you to go guarantee debt to buy a house. You really should invest in your education, and so you'll learn not to ever use those nasty words again. Right? The worst mistake you can make is guaranteeing debt and using your credit to buy houses. That is not the way to do it. And so really, I don't know how to answer your question because there's so many ways to answer it. You know what, Nick? We got a free a 5-hour thing coming up, don't we? What day is that?
That is on Thursday, the 7th of January.
Okay, write that date down, all of you. Thursday, the 7th of January. I'm going to spend the entire, it starts at noon now, Eastern Standard Time. Don't even have to get up early. It's going to go from noon to 5. I'm going to spend the entire first 4 hours on just answering that question. Exactly. How do we make money, and where do I start, and what do I do next? And we're going to be doing live deals during that thing. In other words, our mentors are going to call sellers that you guys send in, see how many deals we can generate, and I'll talk about them that last hour. So it's, when I speak and I do a seminar, I like doing live deals because it just brings home that this is a real deal. It's not just a seminar. So when I put down that date before you give it away, and what are we going to do? We send them an email pretty quick here, aren't we? We have to.
Yeah, we've I think
You
we
want-
might have one going out. Maybe it just went out a couple days ago. But yeah, we've got, and also you can go to, we'll put the link right here on this video, so you can just access
Okay.
it underneath.
And
this.
also, you guys should know that we got a 3-day summit coming up in January. It starts on the 20th. And I'm going to do the same thing the first day on that. So I'll just tell you right now, it's the same presentation for the first half of the first day. Then I got a whole bunch of folks on there you've never seen before. Some really, really top-notch players in the industry. I got one guy coming on, did 800 deals this year. Hey, boggles my mind too. Okay. So we got some real stars coming. I mean, you put down those 2 dates, that's 20, 21, 22. It's free. And the one we're doing on the 7th is free as well. So if you don't like it, you get double your money back, right, Nick?
Right, triple.
Right?
All right. Last 2 questions are from DJ in Texas.
DJ or
says,
TJ?
DJ.
TJ. Okay.
I contacted a yes on the PI sheet. They turn out to be an investor using terms with their seller. The investor is going to stay in the deal. The investor and I discussed me finding a lease option tenant or buyer for his deal with some sort of finder's fee. Do you see any issues with doing this type of transaction with the terms deals?
Well, that's a good question, PJ, because I definitely do see issues because you'd be acting as a realtor without a license. You cannot go find a buyer to put in a house unless you have a contract to buy that house. And in Texas, that's the only thing you can do is buy the house. Well, that's actually not true. In Texas, you can put a house under contract to lease option, but you must assign that agreement because you cannot install a tenant buyer and collect a non-refundable deposit from them. You can in any other state. But regardless, you have to have an agreement to buy it or option it from the seller before you can go looking for a buyer. You can't put a buyer and a seller together and collect a fee, no matter what you call it, without a real estate license in any state. So you must have a contract to be able to do that. And if your guy has got a contract and hasn't bought it yet, he can give you a contract to buy it without having to take title to it. And then you're in business. But I'm not sure why you need or want to do all of that. Why don't you go get your own deal and find one for yourself and keep it all and control it all?
Okay. All right. And then lastly, his question is there a Facebook page for Gold Club members to collaborate other than on the Gold Club forum? And the answer to that would be no, there's not one specifically for Gold Club members. We do have a private Facebook group for our Quick Start real estate school attendees and graduates. That's a private Facebook group for them. So if you've been to that, then you can get into that group. You just request access, and it'll take them a day or so to look you up and make sure you've attended. And
pretty active forum too, isn't it?
Yeah.
And
it's a good group because there's some beginner questions, but most people there have already been through the Quick Start Real Estate School. So you've got a different level of people on there, so you're not bogged down by a lot of the beginner questions.
Some of them are giving pretty darn good advice. And then, every once in a while somebody whines and the other ones jump right on them. We don't monitor it. We're not, whatever goes up, goes up. I mean, hey, even if it's political, we don't take it down, do we, Nick?
No, usually no.
All right. Is that it?
Yep, that is it. And
Right.
I don't think we have any other announcements. You mentioned the 2 upcoming events we got.
Well, guys, if you're watching this, you're probably watching it on Christmas Day. So I hope you got a lot of cool presents this morning. And remind you, your year is over. It's time to get working. What a great time to start on 2021 right now. Okay, get through Christmas, get it over with. Tomorrow's not Christmas. Tomorrow's a good time to start. It's Saturday. You're not working. Let's get going. Let's do something proactive here and get some deals flowing. Get to these trainings. You really ought to consider getting in my Quick Start School and combining it with mentoring. You just call our office and we can discuss all those options with you. We got some really good end of the year deals right now. But, if not now, when? What's going to happen to make anything different if you don't make something different right now? The decision that you're going to have to make. So anyway, you know how to find us. So I'll see you next week. And that would be on New Year's Eve then, won't it?
Yeah, I guess so. New Year's Day.
New Year's Day. Correct.
Yep.
All right. All right. Well, I'll see you next week. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for being a Gold Club member.
Thanks, Ryan.